What's up? Welcome back to Swanky Disc Golf. Today we are talking 8 underrated disc golf discs for beginners. Over the years we've talked a lot about beginner disc golf discs, but typically we are taking the creme de la creme, the best of the best, the most popular beginner disc golf discs and getting them out there for all beginners to see, which is great. And if you want to see those, go check out the videos on our channel. Today we're talking beginner disc golf discs that have flown under the radar. They're super good, but are maybe not as well known for one reason or another. Let's jump into it. Coming in at number 8, this is not really counting down to like the number 1 best. These are just in no specific order, but number 8, the Innova Aero. Now a lot of deeper Innova fans will know this disc. This disc is as old as time itself. The original Aero was PDGA approved in, I think, 1982 or 3. They have since then come out with this really cool Halo Aero, and this is the one that I specifically have been really liking. The reason why I think it's underrated is Innova has an insane amount of molds. The Aero is kind of the OG super high glide approach disc. The numbers are 3600. So we have now today, we have your Glitch, your Spore, things like that are 1-speed, super high glide, super straight flying, meant to kind of emulate a ultimate Frisbee disc. And that's what this was doing back in the 1980s, which for beginners is going to be huge. Anything that you can pick up, it's got a lot of dome to it, kind of like an ultimate disc. It feels bigger than your average disc. It might not be, but it has that kind of image and feel of an ultimate Frisbee, flying under the radar because Innova has a million molds. And I don't think I've seen anyone else in my friend group or people that I play with regularly bagging the Aero. And it's really a cool disc. So recommend checking it out. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you're enjoying the content, and drop a like on the video and let us know down below what your favorite disc is to recommend to beginners, or if you're a beginner, drop down a disc in the comments below that has been helping you in your disc golf journey. At number 7, we have the Mint Discs Jackalope. The Jackalope is a really cool disc. We have talked about this in a couple of other videos, but specifically for beginners, it is an 8-speed. So we are talking driver territory. So this is not necessarily for true beginners, like it's your first couple of weeks playing. But once you work up towards your first couple of fairway drivers, we're definitely going to recommend the Jackalope. 8.5, -2.1 are the numbers on this bad boy, and I find it flies typically slightly more understable than that. The key word for this is seamless. Typically when I'm recommending discs to beginners, I'm not gonna recommend something that's super strange or super gimmicky or something really weird. This is the most straightforward rim I think I've ever felt, especially on an 8-speed. You can kind of just see there's no frills, no super deep shoulder, super thin shoulder, no super sharp edges, no super domey or super flat flight plate. When I think of a stock disc golf disc driver, this is kind of what goes through my mind. So the seamless hand feel combined with being manufactured by MVP. Mint Discs has all sorts of really cool branding as well. You really can't go wrong as a beginner with the Mint Discs Jackalope. Okay, coming in at number 6, we have the Clash Discs Popcorn. This is another disc, and there will be a few discs on this list where if you're a really deep disc golfer, this might not be considered underrated to you or your friend group. But to the new player who is used to hearing of Discraft and maybe Innova starter sets that they see at Walmart, Clash Discs is still a very underrated company. They put out some of the best plastic, most consistent plastic on the planet, and the popcorn is no exception. This is a hardy popcorn, and the feel is so unique. It is very tacky. It's not super gummy though. It's got a good amount of stiffness while still being very tacky. The numbers are 3301. We find that it flies maybe a little bit more understable than that, maybe like a 3.3 -1.1. And something huge you also get out of this is versatility. The popcorns are great for putting. Getting a 3-speed and a 3 glide instead of maybe a 2.2 or a 2.3 can be very helpful for beginners. You're gonna need a little bit less effort to get that pop out of it and to get it going towards the basket at a good rate of spin. So the popcorn all around, incredible disc for pretty much any scenario, and you're gonna get your money's worth out of it if you pick it up as a beginner. Next on the list at number 5, we have the Dynamic Discs Bounty. The numbers on the Dynamic Disc Bounty are 4.5, -1.5.5. A lot of decimals there. This is a very unique one. The 4-speed understable slot is one that is not super heavily utilized by many disc golfers, at least from my experience. Most people bag a beefy overstable 4-speed, but really you don't see too many 4-speed discs out there in general. I know Reed, who also is on our channel, loves the Harpoon from Lone Star. That's, I think, a 4502 disc. Clash Discs makes the Peach, which is going to be a little bit more similar to the Bounty. But I wanted to highlight a understable 4-speed because they're just so controllable, especially for beginners. If you're having a hard time throwing a good hyzer flip where you throw it on this angle and it comes up to flat and maybe turns right, or you're having a hard time getting a disc to finish to the right at all, pick yourself up a Bounty and start throwing it flat and slowly work your way to hyzer, and it's going to be such a good way to learn how to throw these shot shaping lines that we really need out in the woods. The one, I guess you could call it a drawback, not really a drawback, it has a very big bead on it, which as you move along in disc golf, you'll find you possibly really like the bead, you possibly hate the bead, or maybe you're indifferent. But I know a lot of people who are on the love or hate side of throwing a disc that has a bead on it. But as a 4-speed, it's a great way to find out if you like throwing a disc that has a bead on it. Dynamic Discs is famous for having a lot of stock, a lot of inventory, and for dirt cheap because they have so many different plastic types. There's a lot of reasons to pick up this disc, and I want to shout out our channel members on Discord for giving us a lot of recommendations to try out and to throw in this video. For just 99 cents a month, you can hit the join button down below. You get access to a monthly video, you get access to a monthly giveaway, and you get access to our new members only Discord where we're talking about disc recommendations. We get video feedback, we get questions for the podcast, we talk about the Pro Tour over there. It's a ton of fun, and again, for only $1 a month, you can hit the join button. So hit the join button, become a member of the Swanky team, and let's move on to the next one. Okay, for number 4, we're jumping back up into driver territory. So 4, like, if this is your first week playing disc golf, maybe skip the drivers on this list, but maybe not. It's also just a lot of fun to go out there and rip on a disc as hard as you can, even if it doesn't fly right. We're going to recommend the Trash Panda Ozone. If you watch this channel a lot and you're deep into disc golf YouTube, you know about the Trash Panda Ozone. It might not seem underrated to you, but in the grand scheme of disc golf, Trash Panda and his lineup of fully recycled discs is extremely underrated. And truly, his entire lineup is very beginner friendly. He has a putter called the Inner Core, he has a mid-range called the Dune, and he now has a fairway driver called the Ozone. He also has a kind of distance driver called the Extraterrestrial that I wouldn't necessarily throw in the beginner friendly range, but it's a lot of fun, so you can check that one out as well. But we're highlighting the Ozone. This is another 8-speed on the list, and I just find the 8-speed rim to be a very comfortable size in the hand if you're not super comfortable throwing distance drivers, but you want a fairway driver that's going to get you a good amount of distance. An 8-speed is the perfect slot. And anyone who doesn't know, Trash Panda has a YouTube channel. He has outlined his entire journey from starting in his garage, making disc golf discs out of fully recycled plastic, to now being pretty much a full-fledged manufacturer of fully recycled discs. He's got a full lineup. The plastic is super unique. It is unlike pretty much anything else I have ever felt, and the Ozone, I think, is my favorite disc in the lineup now. Super fun to throw, great for shot shaping. Like I said, once you've figured out how to throw shots with the Bounty and approaches and mid-ranges, and you really want to work on that hyzer flip game in the driver department, pick up an Ozone. They're really, really cool. I find they fly maybe a little bit more overstable depending on the run than the number suggests, maybe a -2 on there instead of a -3. But either way, super fun disc. It helps save the planet. Definitely gonna recommend the Ozone. Okay, we're gonna now jump back over to the approach department, and I'm talking the Gateway Shaman. This is really more of a pick to shout out Gateway discs as a whole. They have a really unique lineup of discs with a ton of different super unique plastics. So really check out any of Gateway discs if you're a beginner. It's gonna enter you into a whole new world of disc golf that you didn't know existed. This specifically is I believe it's a diamond plastic. I've never seen it listed for this like foundation run. But another big reason I would recommend it for beginners is because at least in the diamond plastic, it feels like a very, very just stock, exactly what I want out of a straight flying approach disc. If you throw it flat with a normal amount of power, it's gonna fly flat and straight. I would also shout out the Wizard as being a pretty unique putt and approach disc that you should try out. This one I've never putted with a Shaman. They make base plastic Shamans. I would more recommend throwing it off the tee as just a really standard throwing putter that's not super well known. The numbers on this are 3.3, -1.1, which I know puts it really similar into that category of the popcorn, but I would definitely say this is actually more stable than a popcorn. Pick up the Shaman, check out Gateway discs, and like I said, it's a whole new world. All right, number 2 on the list, again, not really a particular order, but we have the MD1 from Discmania. Flight numbers on the MD1 are 5600, and I absolutely love those flight numbers, especially for a beginner. I think the MD1 is very often overshadowed by the Mako 3, overshadowed by the Buzz SS. Super high glide, super straight flight. This is gonna be great for beginners to learn those really pushing hyzer shots where you can throw it on hyzer and it's gonna just fly straight for a very long time. And I'm not sure why it's not as popular. I feel like the MD from Discmania, the Innova made MD, which is now, I think, an Innova mold, was similar flight numbers, similar flights, different mold, but the MD from Discmania was very, very popular. And the MD is now the MD1. Talking about learning how to shape shots for beginners, when you want to do it with a mid-range, I would highly, highly recommend the MD1. Now moving on to number 1, before we jump into it, be sure to hit the subscribe button again, like the video, and let us know what we missed in the comments down below. We love reading your comments. We really want to create a place for discussion and disc recommendations, and that's what we love seeing happen in the comments. So let us know what we missed. What is the disc that was instrumental in your beginner disc golf journey? And let me introduce you to number 1. We have the F7 from Prodigy. This is in their fractal plastic. It's actually pretty wild. Kind of reminds me of a Jawbreaker plastic out of Discraft, but the numbers are 8.6 and -3.1, which prior to these having flight numbers, I think a lot of people assumed it to be a 7-speed. It has a pretty thin rim for an 8-speed, but it's super comfortable. It's super flippy. This one brand new, have not thrown it yet, except for today. It might not seem as flippy, but typically the F7 is a very, very flippy disc, especially if you can find it in a lighter weight. This is, I would say, one of the best beginner fairway drivers on the market, if not the best. They also have the F9 from Prodigy as of recently, but that one is almost like comically understable. The F7 is very, very usable. Thank you guys so much for watching. Again, let us know what you think in the comments below, and we'll see you in the next one. Stay swanky.